Most people think the hardest part of a house fire is the fire itself. They imagine the flames, the damage, the shock of it happening. Some people think it's dealing with insurance or the cost or the rebuilding process. Those things are all difficult, but none of those was the most exhausting part for us. The part that wore us down the most didn't happen all at once. It built over days, then weeks, and eventually months. We didn't even recognize it at first. It was the number of decisions we had to make every single day.
There was a point where we started noticing something about how we were making those decisions, and once we saw it, it explained almost every mistake we made during that time. We didn't understand it while we were living through it, and looking back now, it's obvious. I'll come back to that because if you recognize it early, it can change how you move through this entire process.
When people picture a house fire, they think about the moment it happens, the urgency, the damage, the disruption. What they don't picture is what happens after everything quiets down, because that's when the real work starts, and that work doesn't feel like rebuilding a house. It feels like rebuilding your entire life in small pieces. Your routines are gone, your systems are gone, the way you move through your day is gone, and suddenly everything that used to be automatic becomes something you have to think about, and that is where the exhaustion comes from.
At first, you don't notice it. You're just handling things. You're answering questions. You're trying to keep things moving, and it feels like progress. But what you don't realize is that every one of these moments is a decision, and those decisions don't stop. It starts with the obvious ones: insurance decisions, what's covered, what's not, what to list, and how to describe things, what value to assign, and then it moves into restoration. What gets cleaned, what gets thrown away, and what you want back and what you don't. It's a lot. Then you have the contractors and temporary housing, and then timelines and paperwork, and layered on top of that are small decisions that nobody prepares you for. What do we need today? What can wait? Should we buy this now or later? It's constant. You're going through what you actually need, or what we're just trying to get to feel normal again. Even something simple like replacing a kitchen item becomes just another decision. And what you start to notice is that nothing in your day runs automatically anymore. In normal life, most of what you do doesn't require much thought. You know where things are, you know how your day works. You just live in your house, knowing where everything is without thinking about it. After a fire, that disappears. Now everything requires attention. Everything requires a decision, and your brain starts to feel that.
This is where something subtle starts happening. Your brain starts trying to conserve energy. You don't notice it right away, but you start making decisions differently. You start choosing the fastest answer instead of the best one. You say yes more quickly, or maybe say no more quickly. You stop questioning things the way you normally would, and that shift is what leads to a lot of the decisions we talked about in the last video.
That connection between exhaustion and decision making is one of the most important things to understand. Because once you see it, you can start slowing yourself down in the moments that matter. At the same time, all of this is happening. You're living in a situation that doesn't feel stable. You're not fully in your old life. You're not settled into a new one. You're in between, and that in-between feeling is harder than people expect because it's difficult to make decisions when nothing feels permanent. I remember sitting in the temporary place thinking, I'm just tired of not having my stuff and being able to do what I want.
Yeah.
We had what we needed. We had a place to stay, but it didn't feel like relief. It felt like everything was paused. Like our real life was on hold and somewhere else waiting for us.
Living in that space changes everything about your day. You're rotating clothes, trying to remember what you have, trying to keep things organized in a space that isn't designed for you. Even something simple like getting dressed becomes something you have to think about. Cooking is different. You don't have your kitchen. You don't have your normal tools. So everything takes longer. Everything takes more effort. I remember opening drawers and cabinets and just standing there for longer than I should have, not because I didn't understand what I was looking for, but because it wasn't familiar. And that lack of familiarity adds up to a lot of stress. Sometimes I'd open a drawer for an item, but that is the drawer I kept it in the other house. Dealing with the poor quality of items in temporary housing. Often furnished rentals are filled with dollar store items that break. After the second fire, one of the first things I ran back into the house to grab was our block of knives. I think we should do a video on what to grab from your house immediately. The things you will need later on and the things that you really want matter. And knives are a big one for us after the first fire. Just trying to get a house or a place that had quality cooking knives was a big deal for us. Just things like your Christmas stockings or our juicer, stuff that you use all the time that you're not going to go and buy brand new because they're really expensive. But you also don't want to take maybe because you don't know if it should be cleaned first. It's a lot.
There's a moment that happens over and over again during this phase. You wake up, start your day, for a few minutes, everything feels normal, and then you reach for something that used to be in your house and it's not there. In that moment, you remember and it hits you again. Those moments don't get talked about much, but they're one of the reasons this process feels so heavy.
That's also the reason we have so many sets of measuring cups, because you wake up and they're not where you think they are, or you forgot that you bought them already again, and then you buy another set.
And you can't have enough measuring cups. Another thing that became much more noticeable after the fire was air quality. It's not something we paid attention to before, but once you've experienced smoke in your home, you start noticing it differently. Even after cleaning, there's a feeling to the space. That's why we ended up getting an air purifier.
Actually, we kind of obsess over clean air. We now have 3 Rabbit air purifiers. We use the Rabbit Air Minus A2 Ultra Quiet HEPA air purifier. It's one of those things where you don't realize how much it matters until you're dealing with it. And after coughing and having breathing issues from the fires, we value clean air for ourselves and our pets.
And our kids, Christine.
And our kids, yes. Losing your routines is something that doesn't sound like a big deal until it happens. Where you sit, where you relax, how your day flows, where things go, all of that disappears at once. And rebuilding it takes time, more time than you expect.
The biggest thing we learned is that this process takes longer than you think. Trying to rush it doesn't make it faster, it just makes it harder. And the more you can recognize what's happening to your thinking, the better decisions you'll make.
There are a lot of decisions to make as well with temporary housing. Like when you're trying to find spaces to enjoy in your temporary housing, do you need to buy an outdoor patio umbrella, even though you don't need it and you're not going to use it again because you have one at your own house? But you could be in this house for months to realistically well over a year, and you need to be able to enjoy that space. So you end up buying things for somebody else's space, but without it, you might not be able to really relax and enjoy, and you're going to be there for a long time. So if you're going through this right now, or you're trying to understand the process better, that's exactly why we're making these videos. We're walking through everything we learned both times, so you don't have to figure it out the hard way. If that's helpful, you can subscribe and follow along with the rest of the series.
In the next video, we're going to talk about something that sits underneath everything we just talked about. What this experience actually does to your thinking, not just in the moment, but over time.
Once you understand that, a lot of what you're feeling starts to make sense. So if these videos help, please subscribe and like.